Ain't easy being an idiot. I know. That's why I can feel some sympathy for Donald Trump. I can feel his pain. It's like this situation I heard about him with he's complaining about being persecuted by this bad Mexican judge. When I hear a guy's a Mexican, that don't mean nothing to me. I mean, that's like telling me a guy's a Presbyterian. I mean, what do I care? But when you hear a foreign official is persecuting a fellow American, that sets you off. It's kind of primal, tribal. Remember the tribes being threatened by an outside force, you must protect them. So I mentioned to my wife how I was pissed off at this bad Mexican judge was persecuting Donald Trump, and she said, well, there's more to it than Mr. Trump's letting on. And she said, for one thing, that so-called Mexican judge actually is from Indiana. Well, she seemed to consider that an important piece of information, so I got myself a map. And I don't mean, I'm not too techy at it in Google Maps stuff. I got myself a book of maps. And I looked up Indiana. And I found out that Indiana ain't even in Mexico. It's nowhere near Mexico. It's up there by like Michigan and Ohio. And that struck me as interesting. And so I wondered, well, what else is Mr. Trump not letting on about? So I did some research, did some reading. And I found out this so-called bad Mexican judge, who ain't even Mexican, was a United States federal prosecutor going after the Mexican drug cartels. And he went after them so hard they decided to have him whacked. In fact, the feds had to put extra security on him to keep him from getting assassinated. So I found that interesting too. But then I started to think, and I said, wait a minute, this might actually show that Mr. Trump has presidential qualities. And you ask me, well, what do you mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. What do we need now? We're so divided, what do we need? We need somebody who can find common ground, bring us together. And here's Donald Trump, who said bad things about Mexico and Mexicans. He wants to, round up 11 million Mexican immigrants and ship them back to Mexico. He wants to build a wall all the way across the border, going from the Gulf of Mexico, under Texas, and Arizona, and New Mexico, and California, all the way to the friggin' Pacific Ocean. That'd be one big-ass wall. Be able to see that bitch from Mars. And he wants to make Mexico pay for it. Yeah, that's gonna happen. So he said all these bad things about Mexico, yet he is still able to find common ground with some of the people in Mexico. He's able to agree with the Mexican drug cartels that this judge is a bad dude. Shows an ability to, bring folks together. Folks that are, as my wife would say, are diametrically opposed. Can bring them together. But then I thought back to that bit about him not knowing what Indiana was, and it kind of bothered me. That's something everybody should know. I mean, I didn't know, but then again, I'm an idiot. Think about it this way. What if you decide to go on vacation into Mexico City? And I hear Mexico City is nice. I got a friend whose wife is from Mexico City. And Alma and Louise tell me it has its problems like any other city, but it's a really nice place to visit. They got pyramids down there, just like in Egypt, built by the Aztecs before Hernan Cortez showed up and burned that bitch down. Anyway, let's say you decide to go on vacation to Mexico City. And you go there and you blow a lot of dough for a couple of weeks. And you go back home and your friends say, so how was your trip to Mexico City? And you say, well, it wasn't that great. It wasn't what I expected. And they say, what do you mean? And you say, well, not that many people seem to be speaking Spanish. And couldn't find no pyramids. And the only good Mexican food we could find downtown was Taco Bell. And they say, got any pictures? You say, yeah, I'll show you my pictures. And they look at the pictures and they say, man, you wasn't in no Mexico City. You was in Indianapolis. I mean, wouldn't you feel stupid? And particularly for a president. I mean, let's say there's some big international situation and President Trump gets all pissed off and As commander-in-chief in the military, he calls in the Air Force and he wipes some city off the map. He gets up next morning, looks at the paper, and finds out that he blew up Boise, Idaho. I mean, that'd be a bad thing. He'd probably losing some votes. I mean, even Fox and News have to call him on that one, you know what I mean? So that kind of bugged me. Anyway, I got some advice for Mr. Trump from one idiot to another. Number one, you need to admit you don't know everything. Just admit you're an idiot. But it ain't that bad if you follow my advice. Because number two, you find someone who's not an idiot to clue you in on things. Like for me, it's my wife. To find somebody who knows stuff. Number three, read a friggin' map. You need to know what's in the United States and what's not. And here's what you do. Go find yourself a Toys R Us. Are they still around? Well, even if they're not, you can find yourself a toy store. Get one of them big block puzzles made out of wood of the United States and work that puzzle a whole bunch, and that way you'll know things like Indianapolis is in the United States and Idaho ain't in China and that kind of thing. It's important information for a commander-in-chief. And then the last thing is crack a friggin' book now and then and see what you can learn. If you follow that advice, then, the fact that you're a friggin' idiot, won't be as damaging, and maybe we can get through this thing together in one piece.